Dad, what's the future gonna look like?
Please join me in welcoming two trailblazers to the stage. First, Kiko Dontchev, the dynamic VP of Launch Operations at SpaceX, whose leadership has been instrumental in executing flawless rocket launches and pushing the boundaries of space exploration with innovative engineering prowess. And Franz from Holzhausen, Tesla's chief designer and visionary, renowned for his iconic designs that have transformed the automotive world, from the elegant Model 3 to the rugged Cybertruck, driving the electric revolution forward.
So obviously we're the last talk of the night, so I want to start with the fun question, and maybe the hardest question Optimus will answer all day. So, hey Optimus, who's better at mountain biking? Tom or Stuart
But I'd say
Walton?
Tom Walton. Tough call, but I'd say Tom Walton edges out a bit. He's got that legendary status in the mountain biking world and helped build some epic trails around Bentonville. Stu's no slouch though, racing competitively and pushing the sport forward. Both are legends.
So for the record, Stu is still here, but Tom left to go mountain biking. So Stu, you got the credit in my book, so I appreciate you on that note. We're super excited to be here and to do this. So I got the chance. I actually, we've been working together. Like Franz, you've been at Tesla for how many years now?
17.
17. I've been at SpaceX for 15 years. But we didn't actually meet for the first time until here at UP.Summit last year. And, obviously Elon does talks about SpaceX and Tesla. We do talks on SpaceX, we do talks on Tesla. But I kind of came up with this idea like, hey, Franz, why don't we do a combo talk? And we did it at a different event a couple months ago. And it was great, but I walked off stage and I'm like, oh my God, we could do that so much better. And so we kind of worked through this content. And our intent here was, the companies really have very similar values, right? They're the foundational values that make SpaceX and make Tesla magic and make it special and allow us to innovate in a way that really the world's never seen before. And so we thought it'd be awesome to kind of share those values with you, speak to examples, talk about some stories, and really walk through our experiences that we've both had.
Yeah, I'm Franz, and I've been with Tesla now for 17 years, which is, in Tesla life, I think, times 4, maybe 5.
Yeah,
I know at SpaceX, it's kind of the same thing, right?
Yep.
I started Tesla design in a tent in the back corner of SpaceX. So our worlds had already started since day one. And we lived in SpaceX for several years because we were just
stealing our frozen yogurt. Yeah. For those that have been in the Hawthorne factory, there's a real problem with Tesla.
There was definitely a freshman 15 that happened at SpaceX.
Indeed.
But yeah, we grew a team and we're trying to launch innovative new vehicles, EVs, into a marketplace. If you think of the time frame in 2008, financial crisis was coming, EVs were glorified golf carts, and we were setting out to really change that tone and really create sustainability in a broader scale. And we launched, obviously first, Roadster was a proof of concept, but then Model S was the first designed, engineered, manufactured EV, manufactured in America and sold worldwide, and really became the foundation for the Tesla as a company and vehicles from there. And the Model S's that you see driving out here today are essentially the same car that I penned in 2008. So amazing longevity, I think somewhat iconic in the EV space, and really set a tone and allowed us to continue to innovate and create more affordable products, more affordable, environmentally friendly vehicles. We pioneered so many different things in those vehicles, but it's great teamwork that got us there.
Yeah, I would say one thing, people say, when I tell them I work at SpaceX, they're like, oh, do you get free Teslas? Or do you get a discount on Tesla? Not the case.
Nor us.
Nor does the Tesla employees. I bought my Model X at full price. But we have started to collaborate. And, the ultimate collab is the photo you guys see in the back. And we haven't gotten there yet, but that's certainly where we're going. But there are a lot of exciting things that you maybe don't hear about that you will see at some point with the two companies collaborating. It's usually sort of on the edge of innovation and doing things that people thought were impossible. But you brought up kind of the first point of one of the core principles, the core values that I think both companies really share. When someone asks me, hey, what's your favorite part about working at SpaceX? My answer is always the same. It's the team. The team, the team, the team. The opportunity to work with incredibly hardworking, smart, driven, motivated individuals that truly care about the mission and are ready to sacrifice things outside of work to be able to get the work done is truly one of the greatest honors of my life. I've made some of my best friends. I've been at multiple weddings of people that I've met at SpaceX, and I don't think there are many other companies out there that have former SpaceX or former Tesla like Facebook or social groups where people just chat about this experience. It truly is, I think, that in the DNA of both of our companies is just like the magic that happens with the people, right? The people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's, some of the companies that are here are former SpaceX and Tesla employees that have gone on to do, even bigger and greater things. And you're right, team is everything. When I started, I was an army of one, but then very quickly realized we needed to build a team and expand our capability. And in the design world, we wanted to create a vision that was optimistic and futuristic and really make the future feel like the future. And I think that's something that we continue to do and strive to do today as well.
What do you look for? Like, let's say Franz is hiring. Like, what do you look for in team members and in an individual?
I mean, oddly enough, we have a really small design team, and we do that on purpose. I kind of keep it small because I think when you have a few excellent people, you can achieve so much more than an army of good. And I think the focus is more intense. And so I'm looking for people that are obviously onto the mission, live blood, sweat, and tears like the mission, have a level of talent to think beyond today and into tomorrow, but then also have the engineering prowess behind them, even as a designer, to really be able to realize their vision. It's one thing to pen something that seems somewhat cool and futuristic, but it's another thing to really understand how do you take your vision and then bring that to reality. And you have to work with, you have to have the basic understanding of good, solid engineering principles. And so looking for that in designers, I think, it's hard to find. There's a few rare gems out there, and I think we found a few of them.
Yeah, one thing we say is, how does this individual demonstrate extraordinary capability, right? Like, what makes them extraordinary? And then if you're just recruiting, let's say out of college, it's like, okay, you weren't just on the FSAE team. You won the competition. You won it multiple years in a row, right? Like, what are those sort of factors that we pick up on and really prove to us, like, hey, this candidate's actually exceptional? And then, this is a room for all entrepreneurs, and I think you guys all know this. You don't just hire on like, oh, this person's perfect technically. You hire on attitude, right? And you hire on someone that kind of has I hate to call it just the vibes, right? But the vibes of this person is going to be flexible. They're not just going to be a role player. They could be a future leader at this company, and they're going to be able to change with the company. Because the other thing about both SpaceX and Tesla is like, you're going to get brought in the door. The company's going to look way different, a couple years from now. And if that person can't have the flexibility to adapt and to handle rapid changes in strategic direction, because as I'm sure this audience is aware, sometimes Franz and I learn about things via X or formerly Twitter.
X-Chat is a good one.
Oh, okay, yeah, we got a
text.
new job. Okay, got it.
Middle of the night, too.
Yes, middle of the night. But these are the sort of things that make up great people. And maybe, I'm going to ask you one more question. If you just had one interview question, what would it be?
What was your biggest failure, and how did you overcome it? And I think that really, it's hard for people to really think about things that they suck at, and then come up with a way to overcome that and get better. And I think it's really enlightening. And there's been many interviews where people they can't answer it.
Yeah.
Because either they can't let their ego get out of the way, or they just don't know how to have overcome something really challenging. And in our world, we're dealing with failure on a daily basis, and we have to overcome that and then turn that around into something successful. And in the case of, I'll go back to Model S. As a company, if that vehicle doesn't survive, doesn't become successful, people aren't attracted to it, don't want to buy it, then there is no Tesla.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. So I think figuring out how to overcome failures is probably one of the most interesting responses that I hear.
Yeah, and we like to also say you want to keep ego to competency ratio less than 1, right? And I think the failure question is a good way to see where is someone's ego relative to their competency. So,
ego can be like a cancer, and I think in our company there's one ego, right?
Yeah.
Can't be any, there's no room for any more.
You also got to be confident, right? Like you want people that are going to take risks, and you can't be shy about that, right? No risk, no reward. So the second principle, or the second sort of principle, is really first principles, right? So Franz, maybe we should ask our friend over here to explain.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Hey, Optimus, how do you define first principles?
First principles thinking is a way of breaking down complex problems into the most basic, fundamental truths that are known to be true, and then reasoning up from there to build innovative solutions. It's like boiling things down to the atomic level and rebuilding from scratch. Elon loves this approach. It's how we innovate at Tesla and SpaceX.
Yeah, that's true.
And so first principles thinking goes along with what we call the algorithm, right? The 5 steps.
I was going to ask you, I think this is actually really important, the algorithm of first principles, and I think it can be applied to any business.
Yeah, I try to apply it at home, and my wife didn't necessarily go with that flow. So the algorithm, I'm sure many of you have heard it, but just to repeat it, step 1, and really the most important step, the first 2 steps are the most important ones, and this is really where first principles come down, is challenge the requirements, right? Ask why, right? And this is where so many things go wrong, because especially as an engineer, you're given a problem statement, you're given assumptions, and your instinct is like, okay, I'm immediately going to go attack this problem. When in reality, you should be asking yourself, why are the assumptions what they are? Well, why did we define it that way? Why? Who said that? Who levied this requirement? And often what you'll find is you can't actually find the person. It's just like some organization, right? And this is how things end up staying the same rather than constantly challenging them.
It's also do less dumb things, right?
Yes.
Ultimately.
The second is try to delete the part as hard as you can, part, person, process, whatever it is. Third is simplify. 4 is accelerate, and 5 is automate. And it's important to do them in that order so you don't end up automating a problem that shouldn't exist in the first place. And while Franz and I could probably spend this entire time talking about the algorithm alone, we'll kind of keep it short on that end, but obviously we're happy to talk about it. But it's extremely important, and that's kind of the core of the first principles thinking. I think Tesla's got a great example of that, which is Cybertruck, so maybe you can talk to
hopefully
everyone.
people have gotten a chance to experience Cybertruck,
Yes.
and hopefully even our full self-driving on Cybertruck and all of our vehicles. Cybertruck is really born out of this first principle thinking, putting function and aesthetics together. But primarily, the aesthetics come because of the function and because of the process that we wanted to take and the material choices. And we learned early on that a unibody is the most efficient pickup truck out there when you look at pickup trucks. And that's not the norm in the industry. But we figured out that toughness on every truck is really on the inside, not on the outside, and we wanted to convey toughness and put it on the outside and create an exoskeleton. So it was a unibody with that exoskeleton. And since Starship was emerging, we were looking a lot at stainless steel and what
There's always a theme that happens
SpaceX
at both
was
companies
doing.
as the products evolve.
And we took that and we ran with it, and we invented our own version of stainless steel, which, when applied to the Cybertruck, really meant that we couldn't do traditional manufacturing processes, which was great because we were able to eliminate massive stamping presses and a whole bunch of capital equipment in the factory. And also meant that we didn't have to invest in a big paint shop, so our VOCs were lower, energy reduction was lower, and just a cheaper manufacturing process. But you end up with a material that's incredibly hard to form. And so Cybertruck is born out of the material choice, and it's really like a diamond. You can bend this material in one direction, and if you look at the Cybertruck, it's a very faceted, simple form, basically because of that. So breaking it down to its first principles, it's like we have a battery pack on wheels, and we put the seats on the pack from a manufacturing perspective. And we just built from there. And the Cybertruck is all the functionality in any pickup truck that you can purchase, but the agility and fun to drive and experience of a sports car or an everyday car, add that with full self-driving, and you've got your own chauffeur in a bulletproof vehicle that can go anywhere, beat just about any car off the line, and but haul all your equipment, all your stuff, go anywhere. It's a Swiss Army knife.
So sometimes there's challenges with first principles thinking. And I got a funny, who watched the Cybertruck unveil? All right, who remember what happened? So Franz had a very fun moment, all right? This is where live demos go wrong, right? So the bulletproof glass, you guys were gonna prove the glass was good. What happened?
It's actually not bulletproof glass. It was,
Okay.
It was.
That's what I remember.
Bulletproof glass is very thick. Yeah. It was, we had demoed probably 30 or 40 times behind stage, throwing a steel ball that weighed 2.5 pounds as hard as I could at the glass, and it wouldn't break. And sure enough, on the stage, it broke. And so then I, looked at Elon, and he's like, let's do it again, and broke it again. But it became a meme, and it became an incredible, out of that became, Tesla does not do marketing in any way, but that became a huge marketing play. And a lot of people didn't catch on. It did demonstrate that a big, heavy object would not go into the interior of the vehicle, just did it in a slightly different way. But we pushed on, and we created armor glass out of that, even stronger. We're using it on the Cybertruck now. It's on also the windshield for semi, and it's tougher than any other glass that's out there.
And then there was another thing last time we talked that I thought was really, you walk off stage and you're like, oh man, I'm getting fired.
Yeah, that's true.
It, right?
When I walk off stage, I'm thinking, okay, well, that was a short career at Tesla. But Elon came over and said, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's okay. And I think...
So Franz told that story, and it was crazy because it triggered and this is exactly what I mean by it's almost like we live in these parallel universes, because he tells the story, and I'm like, oh my God, I had the exact same experience. For me, for those that I think most of you guys know about SpaceX's product line, Falcon 9 is our workhorse rocket right now. It's the one that we launch every 2 days, launches the majority of the Starlink constellation, serves human spaceflight, Department of Defense, and a ton of the commercial satellite operators out of there. So Falcon is a partially reusable rocket. We catch the first stage, second stage is expendable, and then we reuse the fairings too. The first stage lands on a drone ship, which is a very large autonomous barge that we put 300 miles in the ocean. Christmas morning, 2023, I get a phone call from one of my team members. Rocket fell over, about 60, 70 miles outside of port. Which is a terrible phone call to get on Christmas morning for lots of reasons, not to excuse me having to leave my family that morning. But I got to turn around and basically call Elon, call Gwen, and be like, hey, look, I got some bad news. We lost one of the Falcons this morning. And Elon said, don't worry about it. You had a great year. Merry Christmas. I'm like, it doesn't really feel like Christmas to me right now, but I very much appreciate this feedback. And going back to the team thing, look, Franz and I may work for, a boss that sets incredibly audacious goals and holds us accountable, but it's your overall batting average that matters. Making mistakes is okay. Actually, it's expected. You're not pushing the envelope. Like my kind of take when someone gets in trouble, I'm like, look, dude, if you're not getting in trouble at least a little bit, you're not trying hard enough, in my opinion. And I think in a group full of entrepreneurs, founders, and people that take risk, I think you guys all very much appreciate it, right? You got to get in a little trouble to make progress at some point. But you got to have, leaders that have empathy too, right? That hold you accountable to the overall batting average, because it's okay to make a mistake. That's what pushing the envelope is. So speaking of first principles, the SpaceX example of this is, I kind of talked about Falcon, right? And our ethos for developing our launch vehicles is reusability. So, in order to truly change the game in spaceflight, you need to develop reusable launch vehicles. You need to make spaceflight aircraft-like, which means a takeoff, a landing, a quick turn, maybe a walk around the airplane, and refuel, put the cargo, the people on, and go again. And really, up until Falcon, rockets were completely expendable, right? Basically, everything fell off except the cargo at the end. Falcon made the plane partially reusable, but there were still some elements to it that didn't make it aircraft-like. Most notably, the rocket took off. Sometimes it comes back to land depending on the mission or the orbit we're going to, but most of the time we end up landing on a drone ship and it's got legs, and then we gotta bring the rocket back to port, break it over, put it back in the hangar, do maintenance, right? And so Starship, which is our sort of next leap, right? It's the world's largest rocket, is meant to truly be reusable, rapidly reusable, which means both the booster and the ship will be reusable. And really, it'll be the first fully reusable rocket. But we had an interesting trade to make, which was, you put legs on it and you land it on a landing pad. It's like, that could work. However, it's not aircraft-like, right? Because you really want your rocket to land in the exact same place it launched from. And, Elon came up with this idea of well, why don't we get these giant Mechazilla chopstick arms, and we'll just fly the rocket back to the tower, and we'll catch it with these arms. And we're like, okay, you want to catch a skyscraper with 2 giant chopstick arms? He's like, yeah, right? And it honestly sounded completely nuts at the time. But the reality was the physics says it could work. And so we worked really hard, and then in flight 5, flight 6, we did this. So I'll let this video play in the background. But we learned how to catch a skyscraper with 2 giant chopstick arms. And the precision behind this maneuver is incredible. I mean, this is, going back to the team, I mean, it's one of the most talented, most amazing engineering feats I've ever personally seen happen, and I feel like I've seen some pretty cool stuff in my 15 years at SpaceX. I think even the Tesla team was like, damn, bro, that was pretty cool.
It's hard to see this and believe that it's actually real.
Yeah. And so we've caught the booster, and so our next step now is we'll catch the booster, we'll set the booster down on the launch mount, and then the chopsticks will reset, and as the ship goes to orbit, it deploys satellites or it does orbital refueling, it'll come back and it'll be caught in the tower. And we think, on the next couple of flights we got one more flight of version 2 of Starship, which will fly in, we'll fly on October 13th, just in 2 weeks, and then we go to V3, and we think we're pretty close to actually bringing that ship back. And once we do that, we've effectively proven full reusability of an orbital class rocket, which is it's a sort of game changer, and it's going to enable a whole nother round of tech that we haven't even thought about. So the last sort of concept is abundance, and maybe Franz, you can introduce this.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about abundance here at UP.Summit, which I think Cyrus is really fired up about, but that's also something that we're talking about at Tesla and SpaceX. And what does it mean? And I think what we're trying to develop here is a future of abundance through the products and services and advance of humanity by solving these complex problems. And I think if you look at what we're doing with Optimus, it's redefining labor, and if you look at Cybercab and our robotaxi service, it's redefining mobility and bringing all that at scale. So making a life that you really want to live.
A future worth fighting for.
Future is worth fighting for, and I think in the products that we're developing, it's exactly that.
Batteries are a big part of that.
Yeah, energy storage. If you look at the energy consumption from AI growing 3% year over year, we needed a way to stabilize the grid. Tesla's handling that. We have our megapacks just deploying everywhere now, helping to even out energy distribution across our network, which is poorly made, but I think we have a plan for solving that.
And on the SpaceX side, it's really Starlink, right? So we've hit 7 million subscribers. It was really amazing to hear the previous talk and hear about how Starlink made an impact on Iran. I mean, I've worked on human space flights, was my passion for a long time, but Starlink was the first time I built a product that I felt like really changed the lives of everyday people. And I've heard multiple stories. I met with Governor Youngkin earlier to hearing how they use that in natural disasters. With over 7 million subscribers, we're in 150 countries, all 7 continents. The demand for connectivity is there. I mean, there's multiple companies, some of which are here at Astronis. I know John talked. I don't think there's going to be we're going to build too much capacity, right? I think we're never, ever going to be able to feed the data machine that is just ramping. When we talk about autonomous vehicles, autonomy in general, you're going to need more and more data. SpaceX with Starlink today and Starlink version 3 that's going to come on Starship is just going to help connect a lot of those products and also help connect a third of the world that doesn't have access to high-speed internet and or the ability to get fiber. So all of those opportunities will change. You want to finish on autonomy?
Yeah,
we'll play one video.
I think you're experiencing, hopefully within Cybertruck, autonomy is obviously about safer roads. It's we call it democratizing transportation. Allows everybody to anybody that couldn't afford transportation to now get to their places. Whether that affordability is through handicap, age, or monetary. And I think it's just a safer way for all of us to move around, and we're in the fortunate position to be designing what that space feels like. And then I think with autonomous robots, like I touched on, just making our worlds safer and better, doing the things that we don't necessarily want to do, whether it's in a factory, in our homes, so that we can spend more time with our loved ones, more time doing the things that we love.
Who wants one of these, by the way?
Yeah.
Maybe next year at UP.Summit we'll put an Optimus in the gift bag service. What do you guys think?
Definitely.
Franz is I don't know if you signed me up for that. I know we're running a little short on time and it's late, so I kind of introduced Starship, but we just want to finish with a video from our last flight, Flight 10. That was quite incredible.
Minus 5 minutes and counting. Expected propellant closeout on both vehicles. That is actually no issues going into today's launch attempt. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.
Vehicle pitching downrange.
Max Q. Kiko. Ship ignition. Stage separation. First startup. Ship engine cutoff. Ship SM's entered payload deploy prep. Ship's in payload deploy.
Open the pod bay doors now.
There goes another one.
Relight demo startup. Starship is subsonic. Starship landing burn startup.
Heavy metal for a heavy metal rocket, as we like to say. Franz and I are going to keep fighting for this future. This is going to be real sooner than you think. Last words?
Yeah, all of it. I think, we want to make life here on Earth a better life, a life worth living, worth fighting for, make the future feel like the future. And then I think you're helping us just in case things go a little sideways.
Yes, backup plan.
Yeah, backup plan. Right.
And you know, humans are natural explorers, so I think we got to go
Right.
no matter what. So, UP.Summit's been awesome. It's been a pleasure to be with all you guys. What a great group. Thank you, Cyrus. Thank you to the team.
Thank you so much.
All right.
The future is gonna be awesome.